Hi yogis, namaste. Welcome to your yin practice. You're only going to need either 2 yoga blocks, probably you don't have 2 blocks at home, so 2 sturdy books or 2 cans from your pantry. So press pause, go and grab those and then come back onto your mat. When you arrive back on your mat, grab one of your books, and if you have cans, don't worry about this, it's not comfortable, but if you have a book, that's great. And come into child's pose, buttocks to heels, knees a little bit separate from each other today, and sink forward, dropping the forehead, the space between the eyebrows onto the block, or the book, or the mat. And then let the arms go down by the sides, palms face upwards, allowing the shoulders to drape and be heavy. Close down the eyes. And settle in. Find your breath. With every exhale, let yourself anchor deeper and deeper and deeper to your mat, to your practice, and ultimately to the internal workings of your body. Perhaps you allow the breath to stroke the back of the throat for that subtle, audible hum. If your forehead is to the mat or to a book, a gentle rock of the brow space side to side, noticing if there's any tension there, and points of resistance. Take the rock so slowly. And next time you rock through center, stay. Find 3 more breaths here. Just letting gravity weight you down. And the body sinking into the earth. But the yoga mat supporting you, and your props supporting you. And your breath just holding you here. One more breath. Begin to lift the head. Walk the hands forward. Come on up onto your all fours, your tabletop. And then spin your hands back so your fingertips are pointing towards your knees. You have your hands back. Depending on how tight your wrists feel, you might lean a bit of weight back, buttocks somewhat towards heels. They won't come all the way. This is quite strong. If it's too much, just have your shoulders stacked over your elbows, over your wrists. Close down your eyes. Find 5 breaths here. One more breath here. And just flip your hands back the other way, fingers point forward. And take a block to each, or a can or book to each side of the top of the mat. And then rest your hands on top of them. Step your right foot between the props. And then rock your way to the front of your left patella, your left kneecap, so you're not balancing on the bone, and untuck those left toes. You can always pop a blanket underneath your left knee, or even double up the mat, roll the side of it over if the left knee wants some support here. Squeeze into your left buttock. Feel the front of that left hip begin to release, and then soften the left buttock and stay. Notice if the shoulders are up around the neck, draw the shoulder blades down the back. Create some space for your neck. Find another 5 breaths here. Take a breath in, look up. And as you exhale, bring your chin towards your chest, like you're rounding the back. Think about taking the hairline towards that right knee. As you do this, you will feel an increase of sensation all down the front of that left hip. You might even feel it around the back of the hip as well. And just for a moment, inhale, lift the head, and you'll feel that sensation dissipate. Exhale, important, chin to chest, then crown of head drops down. There's a bit of a doming between the shoulder blades, not a lot. Full breath down here. Inhale, lift it up again, the head, one more time. Exhale, chin to chest, crown to knee. Inhale, lift. Tuck those back toes. And then just slip your left foot up to meet your right. Take your feet hip width. Bend the knees fairly generously. Take elbow in hand. Head will be heavy. Allow the weight to go from heels to toes. And be still. Notice how on each exhale, the crown of the head gets heavier as the weight of the head and the forearms lengthens the spine, creating space around the sacrum, down the back of the legs, and even between the vertebrae. When we hold these postures, we allow for a deeper release, stimulating the tissues and encouraging the setting down of good fluid, a hydration deep into the body. Release the hands from the elbows, fingertips to the ground or to your shins. Find a halfway lift, hug your belly in. Exhale, you can release, let it go. Do that one more time. Inhale for a half lift, lift up. Exhale, release. Hands to your props. Step your right foot back. Drop the knee down to the ground. Blanket under the knee or double mat. And then find that right kneecap, the patella bone, and come off it. I prefer to pull forward of it. You might prefer to pull back of it. Untuck your right toes. Lengthen the neck by drawing the shoulders down. Settle in. Let the patience be practiced here. Resisting this eager seeking of the next posture. Being content with where you're at any given time. Enjoying each variation of each shape for what it has to offer. No more, no less. Right. As you breathe in, look on up. As you breathe out, chin to chest first, and then start to round. Think hairline towards left knee. You can see mine doesn't actually come. Full breath down here as you feel the sensation through that right side body. Can be quite a lot. Let's move it here. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, chin to chest, hairline to knee. Inhale, lift that up. One more time. Exhale, curl it in. Notice where you start to pick up the sensation. Inhale, lift that up. Exhale, big step to the fold, top of your mat. You're not going to be here long this time. Let your arms just dangle. Heel toe your feet as wide as the mat. Just slip your props forward. Bend your knees, sink your hips, and slide one of your books or both on top of each other underneath the sit bones. So you're in a supported Malasana here. Elbows to inner knees, forehead to fingertips, bow in. Feel the breath flood the back of your body. The sides of your ribs. And you'll notice this through the inner seams of the legs, the groin, perhaps deep into your hip creases. Two more breaths. And one more breath. Release through the hands. Straighten the legs, send your toes forward. Just return your block to the top corners of the mat. Take your right foot center, step your left back, and deliver the knee down. Good. Bring your blocks back a little further, and then start to squeeze that left heel in. Keep your right hand to your block, reach your left hand back for your left ankle or foot. Try and square the hips to the front of your mat. It might be nicer to rest your right forearm on the thigh. I find hand to block creates a sense of balance. Again, pull forward of that left kneecap. If this is altogether too strong for you, you can just be back in this lunge. It's quite nice. You might even tuck the toes and lift that knee and gently rock forward and back. You can even grab a belt or a strap or a cord and pop it around that left ankle to be able to hold the leg up in place. Nice variation. Just a few more breaths here. It's not a long hold. Strong posture. Spending a lot of this practice working into the front of the hips. Hip flexors, predominantly the psoas. And of course, down the front of the thighs, a little bit into the quads. Full breath in. Exhale, release that down. Tuck the left toes under, hands to the blocks, lift the left knee, take a little rock forward and back. And slip your left foot up to meet your right halfway lift. Slip your right back, knee to mat. Settle for a moment. And then squeeze the right heel to the bum. Reach back with your right hand for the foot or the ankle, or loop a cord around it and hold that. Again, variation if that's not available. Toes tuck off the knee and just rock forward and back into that deep lunge. And take 5 or so breaths here. Really easing the way and feeling into the front of the right hip this side. Really common part of the body to feel a sense of tightness and restriction, exacerbated by a lot of sitting. These muscles can get short, or even those really repetitive movement, high impact exercises, cycling, running, and so forth. Last 2 breaths. And 1 more. And slow delivery back down to the mat. You can go ahead and tuck those right toes, come off the knee just for a moment, little lift and rock. And pop the knee back down. Slip your left foot back to join the right. Take your knees really wide, toes together. For a long child's pose, pop your blocks down and take your hands onto the book or the blocks. So the forearms are lifted off the ground, and then drop the forehead down between the arms. It's a little stronger for the armpits and the side body. And if you're not working with blocks and you've got cans, then take the palms to prayer and bend the elbows and take the thumbs to the back of the neck and find additional stretch into the side lats like that. Let's take another 3 or 4 breaths here. Last one. And walk the hands back in towards you. Swing the legs to one side and then round out in front of you. Pop the blocks off to the side. Keep your right leg long and straight. Take a bend in the left. Try and have your toes pointing behind you if possible. And take your hands back behind. Press into your hands, lift your sit bones to tuck your tailbone under so you can pick up sensation in the front of that left thigh and then sit back down onto the ground. Already, if this is a little strong for you, you are welcome to take one of your books and pop it underneath the sit bones and be elevated here. This might be more comfortable, particularly if you're very tight into the front of the thighs. You can walk your hands back and you can just lean back like this. It's quite nice. If you're looking for something more, you might even take a bend into that right leg. I actually like this variation. It feels more gentle on the knee. So if you have problems with your knee, give this a go. If you don't need the book or the block underneath you, slip it away. You can even stay there with that right leg bent or right leg straight. And those who are pretty open, you might come all the way back onto your forearms. You might even come all the way back onto the back of your body, maybe even arms up overhead behind you. Whatever variation you found yourself in, pick something that you can be still in and stay. You have a little less than a minute left. So find your breath. Let your body ground, be heavy. Feel completely welcomed by your mat. At any point you start to physically kind of battle or fight with the posture, ease out a touch. But likewise, at any point you feel super relaxed, maybe you can ease deeper in. Please don't push or force your body, ever. As with all kinds of yoga, Your body will let you know when it's time to go deeper, when it's time to pull back. And we have a responsibility to listen to it, to decipher the messages that it's sent and make good choices so our practice is beneficial, not harmful. A few more breaths here. If you're all the way down on your back, you can take your arms down by your side, hug the belly in, it'll support your low back, and begin to press back up to the seat. When you're in your seat together, we'll very slowly and carefully undo that left leg and take it long out in front. Take a point and a flex of the left foot, maybe even an internal and external rotation, thigh bone to hip. And then just relax, be still for a moment. Step your right foot to the outside of your left leg. Come right up to your fingertips and sit tall. And then just wrap your left arm around the front of your right leg to kind of draw the knee across. So you should feel this down the outside of your right hip. And then once you have that, you can begin to twist over towards the right. Long in the neck. Relax through your left leg. Take 3 more breaths. Let the head come back to center first, followed by the torso. Take your right leg and bend it back. Toes point to the back of the mat. So once more you can stay here. You can bend the left leg, sole of foot to mat and sit like this. You might even slip the book or the block underneath the sit bones. Raise up. Maybe you lean back. Maybe you don't need your props and you come all the way down onto your forearms. Maybe you come all the way down, back body. So please don't allow your right knee to be floating up in air. Ideally, it is down towards the ground. If it's right up in the air, chances are you're not ready to come all the way back. So just back off a level, come up to your forearms or sit. Maybe you slip that left leg long down the mat instead, and that's better for you. Any pain into your right knee, again, come up a few levels. And just relax on in here. Notice if you're gripping at all. Usually by this point in the practice, you should be fairly focused, present. Feeling quite at home and comfortable on your mat. And just allow for a little longer here, a few more breaths. If you're lying down all the way on your back, tone through the low belly, arms by your side. As you begin to sit on up, once you get there, removing any props you might have underneath you, and then very carefully free the right leg, send it long. You can keep a bend in your left. Point and flex the right foot. Internally and externally rotate the thigh bone. And then sit tall, stepping your left foot to the outside of the right thigh. Take your right arm around the front of your left shin and actually draw it across. So I want that left knee drawing across. You might start to feel something on the outside of the left hip, and you might not. It might be too subtle. Keep that thigh drawing across. Left fingertips behind, belly hugs in, shoulders drop from your ears as you begin to twist. So keep working that left knee across to the right. Relax your right leg. Couple of breaths. Last breath. Careful release. And both legs long out in front of you. Separate your feet about mat width. Pull the fleshy part of the buttocks out from beneath. Take a breath in. As you exhale, just fall forward. Arms rest wherever they rest. If this is too strong for the back of your legs, you're welcome to grab your supports and just take them underneath the back of the knees, so there's a gentle bend into the knees, and then you can fall forward more. It'll make it a nicer release around the low back area. You might prefer that. Otherwise, of course, no props. Just hanging forward. Let for your head to be heavy. Allow the breath to flood into the back of your body. 3 more breaths here. Last one here. And belly hugs as you raise on up. You can walk the hands up the legs and just sit tall for a moment, arms by your side. Notice this restacking of the spine, and you can almost feel the energetic response to that deep inside. And one more breath here. Grab your blocks or your books. Again, if you're using cans, please don't use these. Rather, roll your mat up into a decent amount of roll and place it underneath the sacrum. So there's an elevation of the hips. If you're using books, you might want to just use one or stack them both on top of each other. For blocks, I'm just going to use one. Pop it underneath the sacrum, low back. Left leg will be long down the mat. Right knee towards your chest, please. Interlace the hands, top of the right shin. Left heel is heavy. Draw the right knee towards the chest. It helps create a back tilt of the pelvis, a posterior tilt, which in turn will allow for a greater stretch into the front of the left hip, into the left psoas. Take 4 or 5 more breaths here. And one more here. And just switch out the legs, right long, left in. Again, hug the left knee towards the chest to create that posterior tilt of the pelvis. Right heel heavy. I gently point my right toes. I feel like it creates an additional lengthening through the front of the leg. And don't go looking for something really strong here. For most people, this will be relatively subtle. Don't be fooled into thinking that doesn't mean it is effective. It's so effective. Really easy to do. Pretty quick. And even if some of those other front of thigh, front of hip postures that we've taken in this practice have been very challenging for you, this is generally accessible for everyone. And last breath here. And then hug your right leg in as well. Both legs hugging in, block or mat roll or books stay underneath the sacrum. And just hug them in. And send the legs up to the ceiling. Now you might want to just play around with the exact positioning of your prop or your mat. I want this not to create a sense of back bend or compression into the lower back, rather a lengthening of the tailbone down and away, an elevation of the hips, the pelvis, legs up towards the ceiling, no effort at all. If you're lucky enough to be near a wall, you're very welcome to swing your legs up a wall instead. In fact, I would highly recommend it. It feels great. Otherwise, just be here, arms down by your side. Turn the palms up and let the arms slip a little distance from the sides of the body so the front of the chest can be very open. The collarbones can be broad and the back body can be heavy, including the back of the head. The trick is here to get as comfortable as you can. You'll notice my legs are not quite together, a little distance apart. Just let them kind of fall wherever feels comfortable. For me, it's like this today. If you find you get a bit shaky, again, legs propped up against the wall will help with that. Or you can just keep bending through the knees and soften the heels towards the back of the thighs instead, keeping the elevation of the pelvis. It's gentle inversion. It's really great for circulation, for when we overuse our toes or feet and ankles. And these gentle inversions are deep relaxers. The last few breaths here. So if you moved your legs up the wall and you're really comfortable, you might wish to just stay there instead of moving. If you're with me on your mat and you have a prop underneath you, just lift the hips enough to slide that prop away out to the side. And then draw the knees to the chest. Rest a hand on each knee and take a gentle rock side to side, just massaging out the sacrum where you were pressed in the block. So we're just trying to get rid of the imprint that the prop left. If you have your legs up the wall, you might like to slip soles of feet together and knees wide into a wall-based Baddha Konasana. It's really nice for the inner thighs. Those rocking the low back on the mat. Find stillness in center. Full breath in. Together, part the lips, exhale completely. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, let your legs go long down the mat, arms by your side. Enjoy a few moments in Shavasana. I'll stay with you for this Shavasana. As we lie together, quietly, in ease and comfort with each other's company. If you're looking for a longer Shavasana, if you're enjoying it down here, please stay. I encourage that. If you're ready to move, gently wake up the fingers and the toes, and the jaw and the tongue. And taking a bend into your right knee and using that to roll over to the left side of your body. Press down into the hands. Lift your way on up. Seated cross-leg. Eyes can stay closed. Bring the palms to the knees, sit tall through the crown. Roll the shoulders up to the ears and down the back. And bring your palms together. And bow the forehead to the fingertips. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.